Action.
Are we on? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of Cabinet. It's lovely to have so many people here today with us. My name is Councillor Sarah King, and I'm leader of the Council. This meeting is being held both in person and it's being live streamed on the Southwark Council's YouTube channel. I'd first of all like to welcome Cabinet members to the meeting. They're the members that will be voting on the items that we consider in this meeting, and I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves and their responsibilities. Can I start first with you, James?
Absolutely. My name's Councillor James McAsh. I'm the Cabinet Member for Clean Air, Streets and Waste.
Good afternoon. My name is Councillor Evelyn Akoto, Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing.
Hi everyone, Councillor John Batson, Cabinet Member for Climate Emergency, Jobs and Business.
Afternoon, my name's Councillor Helen Dennis and I'm the Cabinet Member for New Homes and Sustainable Development.
Hello everyone, I'm Councillor Jasmine Ali, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Lead for Children, Education and Refugees.
Good afternoon everyone, I am Councillor Portia Mwanganjay and I am the Cabinet Member for Council Homes.
Afternoon everyone, I'm Councillor Stephanie Cryan, I'm Cabinet Member for Equalities, Democracy and Finance.
Hi everyone, my name's Councillor Natasha Ennin and I'm the Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Neighbourhoods.
And my name is Councillor Ellie Cumbo and I am the Member for Parks and Culture.
Thank you. We will be joined by a number of council officers throughout the meeting, but I'm going to ask those that are sitting at the top table to introduce themselves at this point.
Dorian Forrester Brown, good afternoon, Assistant Chief Executive, Governance and Assurance.
Good afternoon, Alfie Loderick, the Council's Chief Executive.
Good afternoon, Paula Thornton, Constitutional Team.
Thank you. As other council officers join us, they will introduce themselves on each agenda item. I have a few announcements to make about the meeting rules. Please could you switch your mobile phones to silent whilst in the meeting. Please note that the filming and recording are permitted at our council meetings, and this meeting is also being live streamed on the YouTube channel. To move on to the agenda item 1 is apologies. I have received no apologies. Just double checking that's correct. Everyone is seated. Agenda item 2 is notifications of urgent items. We have 2 today, which is on item 10 and item 11. Item 10 is the Policy and Resources Strategy Report, and item 11 is the Better Repairs Modernisation. And the reasons for their urgency and lateness is included in each of the reports. We also have 2 closed items today, and no representations have been received. That's on Phase 2 Tustin Renewal and the Gateway 1 Procurement Strategy Approval Security Covering Supported Hostels. It's sometimes necessary to include confidential information in closed reports that might relate to individuals or contracts. However, please be aware that the open versions of these reports are always available. Do we have any disclosures of interest or dispensations? No. Okay. Are we happy to agree the record of the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of January 2026? Thank you. So we'll move on next to public questions. And I think we have 2, don't we? And first up, we have Tony Parker.
Leader, Tony Parker gave her apologies that she would not be able to attend, and someone, I haven't got a name yet, would attend on her behalf to ask the questions. So I don't know if there's anyone in the audience that has come to do that. If not, then just to say that we have given a copy of the response to Tony in advance of the meeting, so looks like there's no one here, Leader.
It looks like there's no one here, but if someone comes in, we can always check as the meeting goes on. And then our second question we have from Artie Dillon. Is Artie here?
I think Artie is unable to attend the meeting today. We have sent a copy of the response before the meeting, so I'm not sure yet. We haven't been given any details for anyone who will attend on his behalf. So,
Okie dokie. Thank you very much. If either of the people who were asking questions were here, they could have asked a supplementary question. So let's move on to deputations. And we've got deputations of local residents who, which relates to the Better Repairs Plan, repairs modernisation. Would you like to come up to the front? All come up. Excellent. Are you happy for all of you to introduce yourselves? And then I think, Diane, are you leading in terms of the speaking? So if you could, so that one hits it on, then you're on the mic.
Yep, my name is Diane. I'm from Kingswood Estate. As a resident, sorry, Kingswood Estate.
My name is Masseray. I'm from the Rural Road Estate.
My name is Benny Mbabazi, and I live Quinton House, Chaplain Close, Southeast London.
My name is Robin Achan from the Manor Estate in Bamazi.
My name is Afsana Mhoza from Camberley, London.
My name is Penina Kensheka from Brandon Estate.
Can I start by saying thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate you making the time to come along to a cabinet meeting to share your views and your ideas. So Diane, I was going to hand back to you to kick us off. So you have 5 minutes for you to make a deputation to us, and then there is an opportunity for cabinet members then to ask questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here to talk about the issues we're having with repairs in my estate and other estates. So the issues is that sometimes sending the wrong engineers to do the job for the hot water. So you'll make an appointment, call the council of repairs, log the job, and it will take maybe 2 to 3 weeks for sending someone to come. And when they come to repair the boiler or the heating, they've sent the wrong person. Go back and say they're going to send another person, and takes another week or 2 weeks to send another person. The person doesn't come. So you're like 1 month without heating and water. And another thing as well, we have this, I don't know what department is called, you know, like when the ones that deal with clearing the grass, cleaning the grass. So there's the shrubs. So I had an incident, or like there was something happened to where I'm on ground floor. So the shrubs were overgrowing on my bedroom window. So the whole of summer, I didn't even open my window because I was scared for ants to come into my bedroom. So when you call the repairs people, they'll tell you it's not their department. So it's environmental. So it's just like really inconveniencing for that. So they've only dealt with it when it was December. So the whole of summer, my windows were closed. So we don't know that, and we had done that. Another thing as well, the lighting in the estate as well. A resident will log a job, and it will take a couple of weeks for someone to come and sort it out, because now it's really dark, and there's one part of the estate that is really dark, so people even are scared to get in there and parking. So when someone parks, they have to call someone to come and escort them to get to the house, because you don't know what's going to happen there. Things like that, so yeah. And mold as well, so my colleague can talk of that. Yeah, what to you?
I will talk about leak from above and the mold. When the leak comes from the above, it flows in your things, spoils the things, You call the council, they come and verify, but they tell you, we know that your things are spoiled, but you should have engaged the insurance. Recently, in June, my bedroom was flooded and the kitchen, and the wood, the floor wood is spoiled. The council wrote to me many times when I put in request for compensation. They agree that it is their fault, but I should have engaged insurance, which I find awkward. I don't have money for the insurance. I'm just a state pensioner. I don't have a lot of money. And when I went on holiday December, I came back in January, I found my kitchen has leaked. Up to now, nobody has been. They say they must first find out where it is coming from, but it's weeks, and I find it ridiculous. And about the mold in the house, some others don't want to complain because they will stop going to work. But because I don't work, I have the time to complain. And they come and do shadow work. They just clean and paint. You go in your sitting room with all your property. I'm elderly, I'm sick, I have a lot of health issues. I tell them this mold can kill me. They say, you tell the doctors to write about it. You cannot tell the doctor that you write for me, but it is common sense that I cannot sleep well when the house is like that. Every year, I've got to get out of my room. They paint. You go in the sitting room, or you are in the sitting room, and they say they can paint and you sleep there in the paint, which I find completely awkward. And I know many others who go to work, but they cannot have the time for that, to keep complaining, keep calling council. They don't come, you have to wait. They tell you their time from 8 o'clock to about 2 o'clock. You must be there. They will come at 4, or they will not come at all. They will not even ring and say, we are not coming, you can do other things. So that is my complaint today. I don't know what really you can do to help us, especially the elderly and the sick. You don't have to be elderly when you are sick, and when you are sick, you don't have to be an old person, but you face the same things.
So, yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I just wanted to echo what these two ladies said. I think it's the accountability that the council refused to take in terms of repairs. It's almost like leaving it to engineers that constantly don't prioritize completing the work that they're assigned to. So I think the council itself needs to start holding people accountable for repairs that are not being met properly.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to contribute at this point? Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, I want to just add on something. So, adding on to her, it happened to me as well in December. So if something like that happens, and let's say there's a leak in the house, and it's an out of hours or it's bank holidays, so how do we deal with that? Because I didn't have hot water for the whole of, well, the festive seasons, which was December, and I have a sick kid at home. So what would happen? So maybe they came on the 5th of January from the 23rd of December. So I didn't have hot water, I didn't have heating. And what's going to happen? Is there like an out of hours people? So when you call them, they say, well, there's no one to come until the working times. And we're paying rent and council tax, and rent keeps increasing every year. So what are we going to do? Some of us work. So even if you make an appointment, what happens? They'll say, okay, we're coming between 8 to 2. And maybe you've taken annual leave from work, they don't come, the house is flooded. Then you have to call your boss again to ask for another annual leave. Sometimes they think you're like really don't want to come to work, or you're just taking a piss. So, or they will just give you unpaid leave. First of all, you've given you unpaid leave, you've come home, no one has come to do the job, you're sleeping in a flooded place, so what's going to happen? So, and another thing, at least it would be good if the council or the people get back to you, say, you know what, we couldn't come today, or we're coming another time, but no one says nothing. So you have to be waiting, and you have to call them to make an appointment. You're on the phone for like an hour waiting for someone the other side to pick up the phone. So I think it's more accountability for council to get back to the residents and say, okay, we can't do it now, or the engineer's not here. It would be good to do that. At least you get that reassurance. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Also, can I add, having mentioned about the heatings going off at weekends, bank holidays, when you're unable to get hold of something. I have been on the rural estate for over 15 years. It's almost one of those things where you kind of get used to things being the same way they are. So it's, even though you know it's not right, it's almost like you come accustomed to it. Winter, a lot of the time at winter time, the heating will go off on a Friday. There's nothing that can be done until Monday morning. The other day, I was absolutely, it's one of those things that it happens across the, I don't know, estates, neighbors, they all say the same thing. But it's almost like, because we have got so used to it, 15 years of living through something that you kind of get used to it. You think, oh, that's just how the system is, but it has to change. There are people that actually employed to have these things, you know, put in place for them to be repaired, or for them, so the residents, as she said, the residents can feel comfortable within their environment. So it's a pattern where, how is it a pattern where on a Friday, no heating till Monday, and there's nothing that's done to actually improve those services or improve that, you know, that the work that's been done. So therefore, it's not a repeated pattern every single year for a decade or so.
Thank you. Can I just say, your contributions are really, really powerful, and you are telling us things that just simply need to be solved. We've got an agenda item, which is agenda item 11 on our better repairs plan, which I'm going to suggest we bring forward in the agenda so that you get to hear from officers in terms of what the plan is in terms of addressing repairs, but particularly your points about holding those who do those repairs to account, so that there's really strong accountability. And you've all made really, really powerful points about communication and how we talk to you as a council. I'm going to hand over to Portia first, but then I'm going to suggest we take agenda item 11 next, so that you can hear more about the plan that we're going to put in place.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all for coming. It can't be easy living through these situations and then having to explain yourself and explain what you've been going through. So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for being here today. I know some of you might have taken time off work. I'm going to save my comments for the item, because it's my item as the Cabinet Member for Council Housing, so I'll be able to respond back to all of the issues that you've raised. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if you want to return to your seats, and then I'm going to ask officers to come up who are presenting the Better Repairs Plan. Thank you very much. Hakeem and Ryan, are you happy to introduce yourselves first, and then Portia's going to present?
Hakeem Oshinaki, Strategic Director, Housing.
Ryan Collymore, Director of Repairs and Maintenance.
So this item is the Better Repairs Programme. So for the purposes of the audience, this was a part of our Good Landlord Plan. We've now started the next phase of our Good Landlord Plan, which is the Better Repairs Programme. We promised our residents through this programme that we would make the necessary changes to ensure that the standards of repairs are what our residents deserve. And so through this programme, we're going to be creating neighbourhood repairs teams. So some of these things are going to be answering the issues that the residents raised in their deputation. We're going to create a neighbourhood repairs team in the north, the central and the south of Southwark. This will create clear ownership and close relationships with our residents. So it's to make sure that our operatives know the buildings that they're working in, and they know the residents that they're working for. We also want to enhance our technology for our online service, so you'll be able to book an appointment online report, book, and also track your repairs online. So there is less time for you to take off work. There is more understanding about the time that you're supposed to actually be getting your repairs done. And this is structured around the resident to make sure that we are focusing on your time and what you need to be done. We've also got new technology that is including sensors and data heat maps to tackle issues like damp and mold earlier, so that we get to the root cause of the issue and not deal with painting over, as the resident was saying, about not doing the job properly. So we want to make sure that this new technology helps us deal with damp and mold issues properly. We're also streamlining our depot and repairs. Essentially what that means is that we are going to be getting our repairs parts locally sourced, so where our operatives are going to be spending less time traveling to go and get their parts and more time actually fixing our homes. And we're also going to be ensuring that we are using less of our subcontractors, and 90% of the work that is being done is done by our organization. We have an in-house repairs team, and that's what we're going to make sure that we are focusing on. And that's actually also going to be saving us money that we're putting back into our housing revenue account. And all of this is going to help us improve our turnaround for our void, so our empty homes, making sure that our families are housed much quicker in our empty homes. And I just wanted to say that, to basically sign all of this off, our residents need to make sure that we're getting value for money, and I'm very, very excited about this. I think it's going to change people's lives. It's going to be a repair service that they deserve. As someone that's had to live this life, it's a difference between a good and a bad day. So I understand what the deputation, the residents that came and spoke about how the experiences that they've had, because I have shared the same experiences. And through this, I just want to make sure that you all know that you deserve a comfortable home, you deserve a home that you are in control of, and you deserve a home that you feel safe in. And this is what our program is going to be able to give you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hakeem or Ryan, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, first of all, to add, I'd like to thank the residents for coming in and speaking to us today and talking to us about your experience. As Councillor said, we are trying to improve the service, and the better repairs is how we plan to do that. Some of the things that your residents spoke about was heating going down. We are investing money in our heat networks to make them more reliable, and we're doing a lot in that area. We also, out of hours, you should be able to get hold of some of out of hours when the heating and hot water goes down, and someone should come out. It shouldn't matter that it's the weekend. That's the service we provide. I do understand there were some issues this weekend. I'm told most of those were resolved in the weekend, and there's still a few that are outstanding that are going to be resolved today. You also mentioned about staying at home for appointments and morning and afternoon, and how sometimes that's difficult. We are looking at putting in time slots, so you're not having to stay home for the whole morning or the whole afternoon. So we're hoping that will improve your experience. And we are looking at how we manage our teams better to ensure that they're completing works on time. We're making sure they've got enough time to do the work, so they're not leaving a job half done. We want them to complete all the repairs to the right standard as well. And we do know that our communication has to be a lot better. What we're hoping is when we have the online repairs system up and running, that will allow residents to actually go online to see the progress of the repair. But we do have to improve our communications, full stop.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments they want to make? Evelyn.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to the residents that came in and for your deputation. As you say, it was a really powerful account, and I think this is what we need to hear to be able to make sure that we are responding to the needs of our residents. And I think my question's on value for money. You mentioned value for money, Councillor Magwanje. If you can just talk about how much you think we will save by putting in some of this improvement. Can I just say thank you for the work you're doing on the repairs, because I know this is one of the biggest areas that we need to resolve. So I want to thank you for pushing this forward.
So this new programme in 26 and 27, we're going to be saving £1.3 million. And then going forward from 2028, we're going to be saving £2.2 million every year. And that is going to be money coming back into our housing revenue account, money that we're going to be investing back into our stock, which, by the way, it always needs to be said, we have the largest housing stock as a local authority, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of it as well as we can.
Yes, I'd like to thank the residents for coming in as well. But those stories are not new to me because, you know, obviously it won't surprise you to know we knock on a lot of doors and we have a lot of casework from our communities. So, you know, I mean, it is, you know, a situation that needs to be dealt with. It's really good that we've got a housing and a relatively new housing manager and cabinet member, which, you know, are absolutely committed to getting this right. But my question is, what is happening in the here and now? So when an operative goes out to make a repair, what checks have you got in the here and now to make sure they go back in good time?
So we're now actually monitoring what operatives are doing on a daily basis. We have got dashboards that are used by supervisors to monitor operatives' work. One of the issues that we've had previously was the operative was going out to a job and not having enough time to complete the job. Every job was 30 minutes rather than the actual time it would take. We've now extended that 30 minutes to make sure that most repairs are done within the hour slot. So that's already making a change on how many completions we have.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank the members of deputation for coming to speak to us today as well. My question is more about to actually achieve this and get the better repairs. There does need to be a lot of changes internally around that progress. You know, I know from the fact, you know, around things like looking at making sure operatives have got all the stuff they need, getting things right first time, you know, looking at this overtime starts in 8 minutes time on things and sort of changing the hours and things like that. So I suppose it would like to be good to know where you are with that, with the staff, what sort of negotiations are being done with the unions on that, and how are staff responding to the changes that are needed to enable this to happen?
So we're actually reviewing the overtime service at the moment. We haven't got to a stage where we're discussing that with unions yet, but we will do that as part of our review as well.
Yeah, do you have a time frame for that? Because you won't be able to implement any of this without having those conversations with the unions. And I think, yeah, so, and if some of this depends on that, then it'd be really good to know just roughly sort of a time frame when you think you'll start those conversations.
Yeah, so I expect those conversations to start at the end of this month.
Thank you. Ellie.
Like everyone else, I'd like to thank the residents for taking time out of their day to come and talk to us. I think my question follows on from some of the others that have been asked. The question of robust contract management feels as though it's come up a lot in this context. I'm thinking back to when I first started on the council and chaired the Housing Scrutiny Commission. I just wondered if there was anything more you wanted to say on what that's going to look like in practice. I don't know whether that's Portia or officers or both.
I think, first of all, as Portia's actually mentioned, we want to do 90% of our repairs in-house, so we're pushing towards that. We've also now got a system called Plantific, which we should be doing a lot of our contracting through. We're actually doing our communal repairs through there at the moment, so any work we have to contract out on communal repairs is actually going through Plantific. And what that does, that gives us some good performance data on what our contractors are doing where we haven't had visibility of that before. And what we want to do, we want to move all of our contractors onto that system so we can monitor their performance.
If I may, Councillor Kumbo, our residents have told us through a number of surveys that they prefer when our directly operatives carry out repairs in their homes than contractors. And that is why Ryan and the team are concentrating efforts in improving us doing our repairs directly. However, we will never be in a position where we have all of the expertise that we require to deliver a repair service in-house. And therefore, we will always use contractors. But if we do the majority of our repairs with our own staff, then we have a handful of people whose jobs are to make sure that when we use contractors, they do what they're supposed to do within the amount of money that we are, that we're going to pay, and they do, a relatively good quality job. In order for us to be able to, post-inspect to make sure that they've done, what they said they would do before we pay them. There is an amount of money at the moment that we're spending paying subcontractors, And we want to make sure that, we reduce that significantly and to only pay for the things that we need to pay. Ryan mentioned using Plentific. What that enables us to do is have visibility of every single job in real time, and therefore we can work out, what they're doing, how they're doing it, where they are, the type of work they do, and if they have any variations, that we have to sign them up before they take any action. So there's a lot of work going on. One, to make sure that we improve our own in-house service, but whenever we need to use contractors, that we're tighter on managing them.
Portia, did you want to come back on this one?
No, not this one. If I can wrap
Cool,
up.
I'll take, yeah, definitely. I'm going to take Helen, then Natasha, then I'll come back to Portia.
Thank you, and thanks to the residents again for sharing your experiences. And I wanted to pick up one of the issues that you raised around leaks from above. A lot of us as ward councillors will have that experience of really trying to support people with leaks, and yet the council operatives haven't been able to gain access and are finding that really challenging, and it can't be resolved until they gain access. Is there anything more through the system? And obviously this is really challenging in terms of trying to get into properties where people don't want us to go in. But is there anything more that can be done to really prioritise the resident experience, who is really, who is having that leak coming down through their wall or through their ceiling? How can we ensure that the system works to give priority to resolving the situation for them? Thanks.
So I think we do have a leaks from above team actually, but I think the urgency with how we deal with these things isn't where it needs to be. So we need to concentrate on the urgency and to use our powers of entry where we need to. So if we need to get into a property that's leaking into the property below and we're being refused access, then we just need the legal support to actually go in and force entry if necessary. What we can't have is what I see sometimes in the stage 2 complaints, that a leak's been coming in for 3-4 months. We can't have that because that's not acceptable. So I've been telling the team that if we need to go in, we need to go in. Yep.
Thank you. Natasha, sorry.
Thank you. I also would like to say a big thank you to the residents for sharing your experiences and the comments that have been made. I wanted to pick up on the lighting on estates. It was really harrowing to hear one of the residents, specifically a female, saying that they were scared to park their car and they would require somebody to escort them. So that was my first question. And my second was in regards to the leaks from above. One of the ladies talked about being elderly and a pensioner, and being asked to rely on insurance even though the leak wasn't their responsibility. Are we looking at schemes in which our elderly residents and those who are on lower incomes can sign up to cheaper insurance deals? And how's that linking in with the cost of living work we're already doing? Thank you.
I'm just going to take the last question first. So we are reviewing our repairs policy at the moment. So one of the things we will be looking at is if there's anything we can do for vulnerable customers. It is important to note that even if residents don't have their own contents insurance, they can make claims against the council on the council's insurance. So, and we should be making that clear when we're dealing with complaints and members' inquiries. So I suppose estate lighting, we do have to review the lighting on estates. So generally my team deals with repairs. So generally if there's repairs to lights that are out, we can get those done quite quickly. But I think that we need to do a wider piece on the lighting on estates more generally. So we need to look at that this year.
Thank you. Can I ask you to give us a time frame of when you'll conduct that lighting audit? Thank you.
I can't give you a time frame now, so I'll have to go back to the team and see what that's going to look like. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Portia.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a few comments. Obviously, we're speaking about the future of the modernisation of our repair service, but I also wanted to acknowledge how far we've come. I've said previously before that we are the largest local authority council house provider, and also we are the ones that have built the most amount of council homes, so we're adding on top of what we already have. And I just wanted to acknowledge the reasons why we've gotten here, and it's because of our leadership, it's because of our new chief exec, well, not so new anymore, but our chief exec and the work that she's done, and Hakeem and his entire team, the repairs team, the landlord services, our temporary accommodation team. It might not seem like it because they are still there. We still do have so much more to go. We're doing a stock condition survey to make sure that we understand what our buildings are like, and we are getting through a lot of it. But honestly, I wanted to take this time to say, having come in as a new cabinet member and poured myself into this work to see how far we've come, and having lived in these council houses, I just wanted to say a very big thank you to the very, very difficult decisions, but the great decisions that are actually slowly but surely changing people's lives. So thank you to Hakeem and to Althea as well, and to the previous cabinet members, Sarah and Michael, for the work that they have done to get me here to continue their work. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Are we happy to agree recommendations 1 and 2 on pages 1 and 2 of supplementary agenda 1? Thank you. I would just like to say a final thank you to all the residents that have joined us here today. It's absolutely brilliant to have you here to be able to hear firsthand about your frustrations. I hope this has given you some comfort that we share those frustrations and the amount of work that's been going on within the council among cabinet members to improve the repairs service. I'm really conscious that what actually matters is that the experience is different for you, and it feels different to you every day when you have an issue that needs to be sorted. So if you would be happy to, it would be brilliant to have you back at a cabinet meeting in the future so that we can talk to you again about how things have hopefully improved. Very good. Thank you. As everyone knows, I like to muck around with the agenda and then I get lost. So next up, we have agenda item 8, which is the Older People's Housing Strategy. Who is joining us to present?
Chair, can I ask that Steve Lancashire would kind of just talk about it before we move to officers?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Steve, I can't... Steve, sorry, I couldn't see you. Steve, would you like to come up now too? I'll get Steve. I'm trying to think what the best order to do it. Who is presenting? Are you presenting? Would you like to present first before? Yeah, okay. So Evelyn is going to present the agenda item, then we're going to hear from Steve, and then we'll hear from officers.
Thank you. And I know that the report is only in Councillor Mangwanja's name, but we worked together on it, so please do indulge me. So before we begin, I think we would like to place on record our thanks to Councillor Sam Dalton, who is a Deputy Cabinet Member for Supported Housing, whose drive and commitment is central to us getting here. I mean, he really, really pushed this to where it is, so just a huge thank you to him. And this work matters. Why does it matter? Because Southwark is changing. Because like other boroughs in London, we have a growing population. And I think the way we plan housing today will kind of shape people's quality of life for decades to come. A good life looks different to different people. And I think through our consultation, what we found is a lot of people talked about needing for safe, affordable, accessible homes that supports independence, connection, and well-being. And I think this is what we're trying to kind of get to through this strategy. We listen to residents and future residents through surveys, workshop, and roundtables. We work closely with providers. You know, we carried site visits to a range of schemes, including almshouses, flexi homes, and specialist provisions such as LGBTQ retirement community. And these visits allowed us to see what worked on the ground, as well as seeing where the gaps were, so we can hopefully try and plug it. And we also worked with a wider age-friendly work across health, housing, and adult social care. And so this paper, I would say, is grounded in lived experience and input. So I just want to thank everyone who contributed to it. And I know Steve will talk about his contribution. Everyone who contributed, the officers who really pushed us on a lot of the areas in discussions, and Councillor Magwanja, who came on board as well. So a huge thank you.
Thank you. Steve, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Steve Lancashire, Chair of the Age Friendly Group of the council and also a convener of the Southwark Pensioners Action Group. And thanks again for the opportunity. Feels like 2 in 3 cabinet meetings. I'm honoured, really. And generally, I just want to say thanks to both cabinet members here and to Sam, who's not here, who've been have, I think, listened carefully. And I generally want to say the direction of travel is good and very positive, and we're very pleased. It's a 10-year strategy. But I do want to acknowledge, in the context of being very positive about that direction of travel, what you've heard very eloquently from the deputation that came before you just before this item came up. And that is, the devil is always in the detail. There is no ground for complacency. I have no doubt of the challenges this council is making because of the relationship between this council and central government and the financial challenges that you're having to endure. But quite frankly, that work has to continue to be done, and as you invited, Sarah, the deputation to come back, I'm very clear that we will continue to hold and have the kind of critical friend relationship with both cabinet members. And I hope, secondly, as well as that monitoring arrangement, given the challenges you've got and the likely staffing changes that might happen, as well as cabinet members changes that might happen, this depends on trusting relationships. And so we want to bed in those. They don't happen overnight. And once some people get moved and other people come in, either in senior management or at cabinet level, we have to keep an eye on that and recognise the difficulties that can create. But that said, I'm bound to say I learned a lot from this report on the technical side, if you like. I didn't know anything like as much as I perhaps should have done about legislation. And it was very clearly laid out, both the housing legislation and the social care legislation. So that provides a really important context, it seems to me. And my final point is really, I'm sorry to be nerdy about this, but really when you use the word affordable, you really need to take it out and replace it with social rented. Affordable is not, for a large number of people in this borough, affordable housing. It's social rented housing, or council housing is what we're talking about. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, Steve. Perry and Candido, do you want to introduce yourselves and add what you'd like to?
Perry Singer, Head of Housing Strategy.
Candida Thompson, Director of Housing Needs and Support.
Thank you. Is there anything, would you like to add more in terms of introducing the report?
Just to say that this is a 10-year strategy, as being referred to, and this takes a high-level, obviously, view for what that strategy is over the 10 years, but it's accompanied by an action plan, which is going to be more of a kind of living document action plan, which will be reviewed as we go along, and we'll have a number of as we develop them. We've made some commitments within the strategy about, for example, reviewing all of our older persons housing. So there will be further kind of actions coming out of this document and detailed work, and it will be monitored by the Housing, Health and Care Board, which is housing, health and social care together, monitoring the work that we do and the outcomes as we go along. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, well, thank you to both members and to Councillor Dalton. It's been a really collaborative piece of work, with lots of input from people like Steve, residents. We've had lots of consultation events with residents and developers to understand where they're coming from. I mean, it is an incredibly challenging environment for both housing and social care, but I think it's the right way forward. And I think the really positive bit is in the action plan, which I think is understanding our need, what things are going to look like in the future, and planning for it. That means also reviewing our current stock, like our sheltered homes. Are they right? Do we need alternative forms of supply like almshouses? And then looking like things, or two things like downsizing are people in the right size of homes, and clearly linking that up to other priorities like homelessness and getting people moved into those larger homes that are freed up. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I've got Portia and then Jasmine.
Yeah, I'm also going to give a special shout out to Sam Dalton because, again, I came into this about 2 months ago and he'd already been doing quite a lot of work on it. And I just wanted to highlight one bit and also ask the officers a specific question. I wanted to highlight about the downsizing policy because this is going to be very important for families and people who are in overcrowded situations, and also I would also believe our waiting list. So I just wanted to ask specifically, just for the sake of anyone that is listening, what does the downsizing policy in this older people strategy mean for families in overcrowding and those on the waiting list as well?
So within this strategy, we've committed to completely review our downsizing offer. So that's something that we'll be doing that's part of the action plan. So what we'll be doing is looking at how we make our offer for downsizing more attractive, whether that means sort of physical support for people to move, what we can do to help people who may have been previously put off moving for whatever reason, consultation with with residents about what it is that would assist them to be able to, because it's a big thing to move from your long-term home, what could have previously been your family home, and so on. So it's what can we do to assist people to do that and to make it more attractive for us to do that. But that's a review of what we're doing now, so that we can provide a better package, and that will come out of the work that we're going to do as a result of this strategy.
Thank you. Jasmine.
Yes, similar vein really. I wanted to also put on record my thanks to Sam Dalton. Excellent work here, really great report. I mean, one of the things that we spoke about when he came to see the Cabinet was, you know, the issue of downsizing again. And I suspect, you know, just sort of finishing where you left off there, it's going to probably need a lot of multi-agency support, really. I mean, I remember from my own experience growing up in a council house, and my mum being, you know, the last one there, really, and it was really so many barriers, you know, to get, she wanted to leave the 3-bedroomed house, but so many barriers, and I think that it will need a multi-agency approach, really, but great work, thank you.
Helen.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really a comment about almshouses. A lot of us, probably all of us, have visited Appleby Blue, which is cited within the strategy, which is an amazing example of a 21st century almshouse for older residents in housing need. And I know from speaking with residents there that a lot of council homes have been freed up because the quality of the offer there has been so good that it has enticed people away in what is quite a kind of often challenging ask for them to kind of move out of their long-standing home. But because it's such good quality accommodation, that has freed up council homes for overcrowded families. And I suppose the comment is we absolutely want to do more of that. And I also wanted to recognise the role of the Sustainable Growth team as well in facilitating some of that work, as well as Appleby Blue, which was a Section 106 deal, essentially, that we helped facilitate. The leader and I were also at the groundbreaking just last week of new almshouses on Blackfriars Road that have been brought forward by Southwark Charities, which will more than double the capacity of the homes there for older people in housing need. And we know that both United St Saviour's and Southwark Charities have got really exciting plans to do more work. So I think, firstly, just to recognise that we're very lucky to have Southwark Charities and United St Saviour's in the borough. And we absolutely, as a council, want to kind of make full use of that and work with them to try and facilitate more of these developments, which are absolutely genuinely affordable for people in housing need. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions? Are we happy to agree the recommendations? Recommendation 1 on page 9. Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. And Steve, I'm sure you'll be back to hold us to account. Thank you.
See you next week.
Next up, we have agenda item 9, which is New James Court, Cellar Road.
Thank you. Yes, and I know there are a number of people here from the steering group. I don't know if anyone does want to. Hi, thank you so much for coming in. If you do want to say a word after we've presented, you're very welcome to do so. But if not, feel free just to sit and to listen. But I can ask you after I've presented if you want to come and say anything. I'm really delighted to be bringing forward this cabinet paper, which has been a long time coming, which finalises the details of our proposed land transfer of land at Silla Road on the New James Court estate in Peckham in Rye Lane Ward, for the delivery of our first community land trust in Southwark, which is very exciting. To take Steve's point earlier, so these are not social rent homes. The council remains absolutely committed to delivering social rent homes and indeed council homes through our direct delivery programme. But we also know that there are a whole load of people who will not be able to access social housing but are finding it very hard to stay in the borough in particular because of the high levels of cost in the private rented sector particularly. And so this proposal, it's a small pilot initially, but I think a really innovative one, and it helps kind of fill that gap for people who aren't going to access social housing but can't afford to live in the borough otherwise. It builds on a model that London Community Land Trust, our preferred partner, have now delivered successfully in Lewisham at Citizens House and also at St Clement's in Mile End, where the values of the properties are tied in perpetuity to local incomes. So quite a radical model of delivering affordable housing. But one that we think has an important role to play in Southwark. So I will hand over to Matt to talk about the details of the proposed land transaction. And as I said, I wanted to acknowledge that this has not just kind of come about from the council. It has come about through a lot of campaigning and partnership work with the Silla Road steering group and Southwark and Peckham citizens who have really championed this model for some time and have been really eager for us to take this up. It's not the kind of end of the story because a lot of work needs to be done in consultation with local residents to finalise the plans and take it through the planning process. But I think that this is it's a really important milestone in the process and one that we should be celebrating. Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Matt Derry, Head of Sustainable Growth South at the Council. So this report seeks Cabinet approval, as you've heard, to, in principle, disposal of land to facilitate a community-led scheme for affordable homes in Peckham. As you've heard, the report represents a key milestone building on many years of work and campaigning from Peckham and Southwark citizens and the local Silla Road steering group, who, as you've heard, many of whom are in the room this afternoon, as well as previous engagement with the local community and consultation events on emerging scheme designs for the site. The in-principle approval allows for conditional legal agreements to be progressed that will allow for the Council's preferred delivery partner, London CLT, working with the steering group to develop the scheme further through design development and, crucially, further community consultation and engagement. And the disposal is conditional on a number of elements of work including planning, viability, funding, and the Council securing vacant possession of the garage's site. It's anticipated that a planning application could come forward by the end of the year, allowing start on site next year. And there are, however, long stop dates within those conditional agreements to ensure that the Council can re-secure the land should the scheme not come forward in timely fashion. As Councillor Dennis has explained already, the scheme is currently envisaged to be a discounted market sale product with values linked to median local incomes and not to local house prices, which means that the housing provides an affordable option for those not eligible for social housing but who are still priced out of the local housing market. Any further time?
Thank you. Would anyone from the steering group like to say a few words? You don't have to say a few words. Would you mind just doing it to the microphone so that people online can hear? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Oliver Bullied from London Community Land Trust.
This is a project that's probably about 10 years in the making, of the community coming together and looking for, as Helen mentioned, affordable homes for people who are priced out, often who've grown up in the area but can't afford to stay in the area and don't qualify for social rent. It's an amazing project. We're very excited to be taking it forward. The community steering group has been instrumental in, first of all, identifying the site, coming together. We've had a whole load of community engagement and consultation along the way. We have a design that's evolved and changed, has a mixture of 1 to 4 bedroom homes, which is quite unique for a small 12 home scheme. And it's also going to transform the site itself, which is often has problems with antisocial behaviour and fly tipping as well. So not only is it going to be providing genuinely affordable homes to local people, it's also going to provide a community courtyard garden. There'll be front doors looking onto that space and windows looking onto that space. There'll be natural surveillance as well. So I think all of those things will contribute not only to having homes, but improving the setting for the existing residents in the New James Court estate as well. I shall leave it there.
Thank you. I've got Evelyn.
Thank you. I mean, you make it sound very exciting. And I'm sure people, residents at home are thinking, okay, how do I get my hands on one of them? So I'm going to move to the officers. How do people access, how can they access these homes?
So it will be a sale product. There will be an eligibility criteria that we will work through on as part of the finalising of the detailed contracts for sale of the land, which will also include further information on how equalities considerations will be met through that process. So in summary, to be dealt with within the detailed contracts.
Stephen Platt, Director of Planning and Growth. All I would say is that we see this as a pilot and we'd like to do more of these. We think it's a really good solution. I think we all recognise that the cross-subsidy model of building affordable homes, i.e. being paid for by the private sector through a cross-subsidy, isn't really working anymore in London, and therefore we're having to be flexible in terms of use of our assets and statutory powers and look for new partners and new models. And I think the Community Land Trust model is a really positive model into low-cost home ownership. We're also working with providers around arms houses, and we have the first key worker scheme in London coming forward to address housing needs of key workers. So we're trying to be flexible, come forward with alternative models to meet the housing need we have in our communities within the constraints of the funding criteria and the cash we've got. So hopefully it's the first of a few or many, and I think it particularly works for smaller sites where it's uneconomic for us to build out as council homes. So I think it's a really good solution, and hopefully we'll see more of these coming through the system in the future.
Fantastic. Any other questions or comments? Are we happy to agree the recommendations 1 to 3 on pages 59 to 60? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item number 10, which is the Policy and Resources Strategy Report. Is Ian here? I can't see him. I was just going to ask, is Councillor Wingfield? And he is here. I was going to say sticking behind Steve, so Councillor Ian, would you like to come up as well? Thank you. Less moving around this way. Steph, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, thank you. So this report is just lets us know as I'm bringing to you the budget for the 26-27 financial year and our medium-term financial strategy. I think most people know that we decided to do a 3-year budget 2 years ago. We're coming into the last year of our 3-year budget, and I'm pleased to announce that the budget for 26-27 does balance. So we are going into Council Assembly with a balanced budget. I think that in terms of savings and efficiencies, there is only one new substantive item within this budget. Within the budget, which is savings on the new SAP system, which does all the HR functions, and any other savings and efficiencies are future iterations of previous agreed savings in past years, as well as that. But I think it's been a mammoth effort to actually, first of all, do a 3-year budget in Yeah. Yeah, it's that mic, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry. So I think, it was a bit of a mammoth task over the last couple of years to actually set out a 3-year budget when we were only getting 1-year settlements around that. And actually, but what it has allowed us to do is better plan for our budget and our savings and efficiencies, but also for income and generation and growth, but also allowed us to have a more strategic view on where we needed to be and have a greater in-depth look at in-year budgets at the point, as politically we hadn't really done it to such an extent in the past on that. In terms of this year, it's a little bit different because the government themselves have announced a 3-year funding settlement under their fair funding formula and fair funding review. The government, when they came to power last year, said that they wanted to make it easier for local authorities to be able to plan longer term with their finances, and did a whole consultation around fair funding. And at the heart of fair funding was the fact that they would fund to need. So in areas of deprivation, would get more funding than under previous governments. And it was about the redistribution of wealth, which I think most of us here absolutely fundamentally agree with. However, that does mean when they first set out their plans for it, when they looked at the indexes of mass deprivation, it didn't include housing costs, which, as we know here in Southwark and across London and the South East, are exorbitantly high, and actually are for many people, it's the things that pushes them into poverty around that. So I think after some successful lobbying that the leaders done, myself, and with London councils and Centre London Forward, the government actually relented and said, actually, yeah, you are right, and we should be including this. So housing costs are included. That said, the funding settlement we have for the next 3 years is heavily reliant on council tax and council tax collection. That's set to a national formula, and I think it's fair to say that inner London boroughs and urban areas do tend to struggle with their collection rates in a way that rural areas and those areas that are not in a city do around that. So we think that actually the assumptions for council tax collection, what we can raise through council tax, and the assumptions around new homes and growth in new homes is probably a little bit more ambitious for our own statements, and we've put that back into the feedback on the settlement. I want to reiterate, this is just a provisional settlement at the moment. We do get the final settlement later on this month, and it's the final settlement that will come to Council Assembly around that. So based on the provisional settlement, we are roughly where we thought we would be, and massive thanks to Tim and Clive and Geraldine for doing all the number crunching around that, because they weren't far off, from, as always, from where we are. But that does mean that we are looking around a £90 million deficit over the next 3 years around that. But as I've said, the budget for 26-27 is balanced because it's part of our 3-year budget around that. We're also proposing to increase council tax by the standard 5%, so it's 2.99% on the normal part of council tax and 2% on the adult social care precept. We have to take that, it's factored into our budget, but of the pressures that we're seeing in adult care, we do need to take that 2% precept within that as well. The report also makes reference to the GLA's precept. That has changed since it was first published. So the final report that goes to Cabinet, to Council Assembly, will have the precept for the GLA. It has a slightly increase for properties around that, but we'll get the figures for that prior to Council Assembly as well within that. But I just also want to say that, we have a really thorough process for our budget. We do a lot of planning, we do a lot, but we get a lot of scrutiny, quite rightly, on the budget. I think we're quite unique in Suffolk, where we have scrutiny in a day, where Overview and Scrutiny look at that budget. And I want to say thank you to all the members of Overview and Scrutiny for the work they do on that, but also to all the Cabinet members who attended that this year as well, and went through that scrutiny process on various parts around the current in-year overspends for climate budget, which we're introducing around that as well. Councillor Wingfield, you'll be pleased to know that we have agreed with your recommendations around that as well. I do honestly believe that, going through that scrutiny process makes our budget a lot more robust. It makes it, and it's the right thing to do around that. So I'll stop there, and I'll see if officers and then Councillor Wingfield want to say anything that I may have missed.
Thank you. Not a huge amount to add, really, just to point out we've also got in here the HRA budget, which is for approval today. To pick up on the issue around the indices of multiple deprivation, just to say there's good and bad news in here, really. Government is redistributing funding to where it is needed most, and as you recognise from reading this report, funding is not coming in the direction of Southwark in the way that we'd like it, but that is largely because our deprivation has decreased significantly since the last time it was measured, which I'm sure all of us will take some credit for in terms of the policies that have been delivered over the last 5 years since the last measure. And then thirdly, just to say thank you really both to Cabinet members and also to officers for support in pulling all this together. It's obviously a bit of a task every year. It doesn't get any easier, and I'm really grateful to everyone for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wingfield.
Thank you, Chair, and I think Stephanie more or less said everything I was going to say, but I do really want to add my thanks to yourself and the other Cabinet members who came, as it is a 3-year budget. Obviously, we didn't get to see every Cabinet member. I'm sure your time will come in due course. But yes, thank you to the members and officers who attended OSC on the 19th of January. Obviously, I'm equally pleased that all the recommendations were agreed or accepted in one form or another. And I know that members' concerns were primarily focused on the transformation agenda, particularly picking up with digital services and the use of new technology. They're also very concerned about supporting the voluntary sector and all the good work that they do here in the borough, and making sure that nothing falls between two stools. Again, they were extremely supportive of continuing with the 3-year budget for the next 3 years. But obviously, it's a little while away before we decide that. And then also, I think they were keen to extend the use of working with our partners in the health service and beyond in order to maximise the efficiencies within our services, and finally to ensure that we have ongoing equality impact assessment, so that nobody is disadvantaged or discriminated in any way. There were some members of the committee that tried to move other recommendations that had ongoing revenue implications, but they never identified where the money was coming from, so obviously we didn't agree with those. You'll be glad to hear. And just to finally thank you, Chair, for all the work you've done, and others, including the housing costs, because as Councillor Crine said, that's an extremely important element when looking at Southwark's finances. So thank you one and all.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Everyone's managed to predict them and answer them. I was just going to say, just coming back to that piece about our Southwark's position to government, it is an ongoing conversation. It is a provisional settlement at this moment in time, and Steph and I will continue very much to make the case around the assumptions that have been made about council tax collection. But I also think it's on us to also keep the message going to government about the areas where we particularly need support in terms of temporary accommodation overspend, and also the growing needs in terms of special educational needs in the borough as well. And we know that there are live conversations with government in terms of its strategy and special education needs, and we need to keep making sure that the residents who need that support and the parents that need that support are part of those conversations here in Southwark. So thank you to everyone. Are we happy to agree the recommendations 1 to 12 on pages 4 and 5? Thank you very much. So we're moving on to agenda item 12, which is the Southwark Construction New Homes Update. Anyone else coming? Thank you. Helen, you have to introduce.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really pleased to bring forward this update report on our new homes programme. I think people will be aware that it's a very vast programme. We have 3,000 homes built or on site, and it was confirmed by Inside Housing as well that last year we delivered the most council homes of any local authority in the whole country, which is amazing and something we should all be really, really proud of. It's been amazing over the last year to visit a lot of the new new council homes. We've had 581 new council homes on the Aylesbury delivered, which is absolutely huge. But smaller infill schemes as well, like the Salisbury estate in North Walworth, and also Sedgemoor Place in St Giles Ward. And I was just at Albion Street in Rotherhithe the other day with these amazingly kind of Scandinavian-inspired designs, council homes there. So a huge amount that is going on across the board. I like to think that this report is a bit of a kind of reference document. It has all of the homes that we have delivered, all the locations. It has the breakdown by ward. So if anyone wants to find out any information about the new council house building programme, where things are at, what's been delivered, where they've been delivered, it is all here transparently in this report. The most important thing to note, I think, is that we have now progressed the next phase of our council house building programme. A lot of work has been going on behind the scenes in negotiations through the procurement process, and then finally with the two developers that came out of that as our preferred partners. And I'm really pleased to say that we've now signed contracts for the next phase of our council house building programme. And that will deliver at least 360 new council homes across 8 sites in the borough. So a really exciting point in the process. And one of the things that has also done is find solutions for some of the paused schemes. So people around the table will remember that we had to pause some of the plans on Bells Gardens, the Linley Estate in particular. Those are now included in the development agreement package going forward. We continue to look to find a solution for estate renewal on the Sow Gardens estate as well. And Styles House, which is the scheme up in Barrow Bankside by Southwark Tube Station, not part of the DAs, but we have found a solution working with colleagues in sustainable growth there as well, so that we will be getting 44 new council homes out of the delivery that site is bringing forward, which is more than was originally planned in the council house building programme. So there's a lot of really positive news here. The government's £39 billion social and affordable housing programme will be opening this month for bids, and the team are working really hard to prepare our submission, because we do have a pipeline of sites we do want to build, and we want to continue our record, being one of the largest deliverers of new council homes. So there's a lot there. Zoe's been working obviously very intensely on all of this, and I might want to say a few more words.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Dennis. I think you covered the synopsis really well. We were last here in Cabinet in July 2024, so this is really an opportunity to bring forward an update on what the programme has achieved overall. It's a real council-wide effort to deliver all these new homes, and it's also an opportunity to highlight where we've delivered other community benefits alongside those new homes, say a little bit about how we deliver them, and also looking ahead, as Councillor Dennis has outlined already.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I was going to say a massive thank you to Helen, because it is an amazing place that we are in terms of being judged to be the largest builder of council homes in the country, and it's a huge credit to you and to all the officers who've been involved with it. So we're in a really, despite very, very difficult circumstances economically in terms of our own funding, is a really, really positive update to have in terms of how much we've achieved and what we have coming forward. So thank you to everyone. Are we happy to agree recommendation 1 on page 89? Thank you. And next up is phase 2 of the Tustin estate renewal. And just to note that we will also do this as a closed report as well.
There we go, me again. So one of the largest, if not the largest, programme or project within the programme is the renewal of the Tustin estate. And I'm really pleased that residents are now starting to move into phase 1, 167 new homes delivered through that phase. Osama and his team have been working really closely around. And overall, the plans for the estate will deliver 690 new homes, along with other much wider benefits around additional greening, connection to Selchip, and it's a hugely ambitious project, and one, again, that I think we're all really proud of. At 2 cabinets ago, I think just before Christmas, we took the decision to enter into the early works contract for phase 2. And we also talked about the way in which we would break the phasing down a little bit more to ensure that we can move forward with the next block, which will be block G2, which will deliver 105 new council homes and 5 shared equity homes. So we discussed that, and we had the input as well from Andrew Eke, chair of the TRA, from the estate, and Andrew and everyone there has been amazing. The residents, it's not an easy process going through all of this, demolition and rebuild, etc. And it has been really important to work hand in hand with the TRA on this project. This report now proposes us entering into the main works contracts with Bouygues, and that has been kind of negotiated through an open book process, so that we can ensure, given the scale of the contract, which is obviously vast given the project, but that we've got really good value for money, and we can be assured of all of the costs that are included there. That's probably enough from me, but it's obviously another really important decision and milestone within the renewal of the Tustin estate.
Yeah, I'm Osama Shoosh, the strategic lead for estate renewal and Southwark construction. I think you've covered everything, Councillor Dennis. Just to say that I think as of right now, 15 families have moved into phase 1, and there's more moving as we speak. And I think the quality delivered in phase 1 has been fantastic, and I think it'd be great to move on to deliver phase 2. This report, as you say, brings forward, allows us to enter into a contract to deliver block G2, 110 homes, and it's sort of just under half of phase 2.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Evelyn.
Thank you, Osama. I mean, as a ward councillor, I'm really happy. I've got happy residents, so that makes me happy as well. So thank you for all the work you've done. I think my only request is that as we carry on to the next phase, if we can continue to work very closely with the TRA and residents, because I think, as Helen has said, they have been invaluable in this whole process, and I've been really considerate to the things that we need to do. So just keep informing them and working closely with them.
We definitely will.
Any more questions, comments? Okay, thanks very much. We'll take the decision in the closed session. Agenda item 14 was Southwark's Enhanced Biodiversity Duty Report.
Thank you, Leader. It's a real pleasure to be able to present this report. The driver of the timing is, of course, that we have a duty, an enhanced biodiversity duty under the Environment Act 2021 to submit this report to DEFRA within 12 weeks of the 1st of January. But it is also an opportunity to talk about some of the tremendously positive work that's been happening in this area for quite a long time anyway. It's worth just noting that the reporting duty covers the previous 2 years, so it's 1st of January 2024 to 1st of January 2026, and it's our first opportunity to do that, so it's the first report like this. And it's a real pleasure to be able to point to achievements that we've made anyway and that are embedded in strategies like Southwark 2030 and the Streets for People. So I think everybody will be aware that we're the first inner London council to sail past the 100,000 trees on council land mark, but also to point to the fact that we're the first London council to establish a right to grow. There's a lot of other good news in the report, like 81% of sites of importance to nature conservation are under positive management. It is a good news story, and it's a great pleasure and a privilege for me, still being quite new in the post, to be able to present it. So having set out the 2 key points, and the 2 recommendations are to note the duty, there is a legal aspect to this, and then to approve the report. But I will pause there in case officers wish to add anything.
Not much to add, only that, as Councillor Cumber mentioned, should Cabinet approve this today, it'll be submitted to DEFRA within 12 weeks, and that would mean that we are totally compliant with the Environment Act 2021. Not sure if any of my colleagues want to add anything.
I think it's well covered, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments, John?
Thank
you, Sarah, and thank you to everyone who's put this together. I think it does show the scale of work that we're already doing, and obviously it's a requirement for us to put this together, but a really good opportunity for us nonetheless. I think the importance of it is varied. First of all, not everyone in the borough has access to their own green space. It's important that what we're doing to protect them, which is obviously outlined in this report. We obviously know that the impact of biodiversity on the climate is also so important as well, and that's why the focus that this report has in terms of heat risk and surface water flooding, and what we're doing to address those things is really key as well. I'd also just highlight that this is not just the council delivering this, and I think that can be evidenced through the Biodiversity Fund, which is obviously referenced in this report, where we were so far oversubscribed, and the kind of work and the level of interest that came through different community groups kind of shows that actually there's a real appetite from residents and members of the community to get involved in protecting and enhancing our green spaces. Now, obviously, this will be submitted to DEFRA, so my question is asking you to speculate to a certain extent, but when DEFRA receive our biodiversity report, along with others, how do you think ours will compare? And what do you think the learnings might be from some of the local authorities going forward to make sure we're doing all we can to protect our green spaces?
Thank you. Did you have a follow-up? Cool. Any other questions or comments? Excellent. So are we happy to agree the recommendations on this item, which are recommendations 1 and 2 on page 126? Agreed. Thank you very much. Next, we have admission arrangements for community primary schools from September 2027.
Thanks very much. Okay, so I've got with me today Alistair and Neil. Sorry. Hi there, everyone. I'm now live and direct. I've got Alistair, the DCS, who you all know, and obviously Neil Gordon from our education team. I've brought this report today, the admission arrangements for community primary schools for September 2027. You should all be familiar with this. It comes each year. Southwark is the admissions authority for community primary schools, and we have a statutory duty to make sure our admission arrangements are clear, fair and fully compliant with the school's admissions code. In the main, our admission arrangements are unchanged. The arrangements still prioritise pupils with an EHCP, education, health and care plan, and where schools are oversubscribed, there's a clear priority for the children in our care or with care experience. What is different about the report this year is that there are a couple of schools have asked us to consult on their pupil admission numbers reduction, and they are Phoenix Primary School. They've asked for their PANs to come down from 90 to 60, and Keyworth Primary, which have asked for a reduction of 60 to 30. And we've had a consultation, and that's all, come out in the wash. Everybody wants that. The approach, I have to say, when we're looking at reduced numbers, reflects the strategy, keeping education strong. I think, that's obviously been quite successful. It's enabled us to get in front of, quite a challenging period where, pupil numbers have been falling. And we know that our counterparts in a lot of boroughs have not been, as on top of it because they haven't had the strategy. We know, of course, that demographic trends won't stand still, and we can see some of the pressures moving from primary to secondary, but I can assure you that we continue to work with schools. We work with them, not basically not doing to them. And I'm looking at Neil, and we're working very close with them proactively, to look at the trends that are going from primary to secondary, and we're pretty much on top of that. I mean, I'm trying to keep a straight face because I can see out the corner of my eye Evelyn smiling at me, because when we discussed this before, she wondered whether it might be a little bit accessible, but obviously this is a statutory document, and we will aim to basically make more accessible versions of this in my foreword, and of course anywhere else we get the chance. So I'm asking Cabinet if they will agree basically first the report and agree the pupil admission numbers, which, as I said before, we've had the consultation and everyone seems to be on board.
Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Very little agree with everything.
Understand. Press the button.
It's all right. But very little agree with everything Councillor Ali said. The reduction of the pupil admission numbers reflects the actual numbers of pupils that are attending the school broadly, so it has no impact on equalities in any way. So I'd like to commend this to the Cabinet to support the wish of the school and the assessment of council officers.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Would you like to say a few more words?
In which case I just wanted to thank Neil and Alistair and their team for all their really hard work in making this report super accessible. Thank you.
Made me laugh now as well. So thanks everyone. Are we happy to agree recommendations 1 and 2 on page 135? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have agenda item 16, disposal of freehold at Westminster Bridge Road. And Mark? Excellent.
Yes, so this report is asking Cabinet to approve that we dispose of a property or we take to auction a property in Westminster Bridge Road. It's a vacant office building. It's been empty for quite a lot of time. It really is in a poor condition, but also the layout doesn't really lend itself to modern purposes around that. Now, the keen-eyed and sharp-eyed amongst you will say, but Steph, didn't you bring this to Cabinet last year? And yes, I did. We did have a sale, a buyer for the property, but unfortunately that's fallen through. So we've had to think about what's the best way to dispose of the property. And we think that, come to a conclusion that probably going to auction is the best way of doing it. We think we'll get a substantial capital receipt by doing so. We also know that we will find some savings on the revenue account because of the money it's taken at the moment to keep that property and do the sort of bits and pieces we have to do with that property and make sure that it's not squatted and things like that. So this is really a property that was going to be sold, sales fallen through, so now we're asking Cabinet's permission to go to auction at the end of this month on the property.
Thank you. Mark, is there anything you want to add? No. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Are we happy to agree the recommendations? Agreed. Thank you very much. Next, we have the agenda item 17, which is the procurement strategy approval, security cover in supported hostels. Portia. This is also in closed session, so if you'd like to introduce it in open session, we'll take the decision in closed session. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very straightforward document. It's a Gateway 1 to go out to procure security services that are fit for purpose for our supported housing. Our supported housing have residents in that have really complex needs, and we need to make sure this service is able to meet their needs and cater to residents who have issues such as alcohol and drug abuse and other issues that are relating to their mental and physical health.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything to the introduction? No. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the open discussion? Okay, thank you very much. And next is agenda item 18, which is response to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee report on Asylum Road Care Home, which I think is Helen and Evelyn both together. Thank you. Who would like to go first?
I'll kick off.
Thank you.
So, following a really constructive session with Overview and Scrutiny Committee, this paper responds to the recommendations that they put forward on the back of that session. This followed on from the the provisional cabinet decision to move forward with a land transaction which would enable us to deliver a nursing home in partnership with Andover Care. It wasn't referred back to Cabinet, so that decision is now moving forward, but there are a number of recommendations here which we can take on board as the process continues. For example, in relation to design excellence, we had already, as Cabinet, agreed that we would explore appointing a kind of design champion with that background in particularly looking at dementia and design that supports people living with dementia. So that is taken forward, and a number of other recommendations here, which I think already are embedded within council practice, but I think the OSC recommendations bring those out and bring those to the fore, which is helpful. So I'm pleased that we can move forward, and thank you to OSC for a constructive session.
Yes, I concur with everything Helen said. Just a huge thank you to OSC, because I mean you approached this in a very transparent and diligent way, and you took time to listen to both sides. So thank you for that. I'm happy that we're able to accept the majority of the recommendations, because I think you will agree with me that we all want the best outcome in this, and it's important that we expect the best with any provider we work with. As Helen has said, in the recommendations that we were not able to accept, it was clear that a lot of it was done already through processes and governance requirements, so I'm happy for that. But I think in summary, at this point, I'm really happy that we are able to move forward with this new care home. I will say that my colleagues around the capital are very jealous of the position we are in being able to go forward and build a new care home. And I think this really follows on from the older people's housing strategy in making sure that we are, equipping ourselves for the future as we see it. So a huge thank you to everyone involved, and I'm really looking forward to getting on with building this new care home.
Thank you. Would officers like to say any more at this stage? No? No. Councillor Wingfield, would you?
Yes, absolutely, good. Yes, thank you, Chair, and thanks again. I think both Cabinet members have really explained the background to this item. We did give this thorough consideration, as both Cabinet members have said, and obviously it was at the health scrutiny beforehand, so we've had a double dose of this particular item. The only question I had just on the response, if I may, it says in the response to recommendation 3, it says this is from the 19th of September Cabinet paper. It says this is set out at the response to recommendation 4 at page 241, but page 241 relates to couples wishing to get married or enter into civil partnerships. I'm not quite sure that's the right that's the right one. So perhaps some clarification on that at some stage would be helpful. We wouldn't want to mislead anybody in any way. But yeah, I think, as Councillor Koto said, that there are other processes and forums in place for that wider consultation, and therefore I think most of that recommendation is catered under those processes. So thank you once again for, when you will accept these recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. It sounds like a page number error. Is anyone able to correct it in real time?
We will double check that, but I just want to say for the record, we're very happy for people to get married in our care homes as well. That would be a lovely occasion to attend. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments they'd like to make? If not, are we happy to agree the recommendations, but also including that we will update Councillor Wingfield and the committee on what seems like a page numbering error? Agreed. Thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of the open session. So I would be grateful if the live streaming could be brought to an end and if members of the public could now leave.